should we do a current controversy?
Heck yeah.
Because we got a lot of those, a lot of differences there. Let's throw in bar width.
Bar width.
But along with that, you have to say the hood angles.
Yeah.
So those go together. That's
the
UCI.
UCI.
That's a combo.
Yeah.
That's a combo.
So you mind if I
Phil for you.
Yeah, set this
bring
up.
us into this?
Yeah.
For all the people that don't understand what
All
any
right.
of this is.
We're all gear nuts, and as part of the whole, how do you set up your bike in order to be fast, in order to be comfortable, in order to go through the air quickly? Currently, there is a debate within the cycling community about how wide your handlebars should be. The governing body of the sport recently weighed in and set a minimum handlebar width because people were going narrower and narrower and narrower to try to lower their frontal profile.
to get more aero.
Yes. We say aero, which is essentially less watts
Aerodynamic.
means they go faster.
To get more aerodynamic.
But because they were getting really narrower, there was worries about their ability to steer, and so they set a minimum width.
Yeah, this is the bar. This is the bar, also known as the cockpit, right? They call it the cockpit.
Part of it.
Yeah,
It's part of the cockpit.
cockpit would include controls.
It includes
Just a piece of
This is a piece of the cockpit. So we're talking about the width of this.
Right. So what they're saying is in the old days, they would say oh, you want something roughly the size of your shoulders so that you could open up your diaphragm and breathe better. But now as we have a better understanding of aerodynamics, they're moving things narrower and narrower because your frontal area matters a whole lot more. This was sort of brought into the modern discussion by a guy named Adam Hansen, who was racing for a team called Lotto Soudal. He was one of the first people to run 38 centimeter center to center handlebars, because he was doing a lot of the work on the front of the big racing group, which is called a peloton. So he was spending most of the time out in the wind, and in order to be more efficient doing that, he got a really aerodynamic setup, and a lot of the modern discussion has come from that.
Peloton is French for group or main group.
I don't know what the translation is.
I know that it's group. That's
Let's
why-
stay on topic. We'll get into Peloton trend.
This is something important.
Okay,
a lot of
okay.
people
My
the Peloton, the indoor trainer thing. with
Yeah,
the
yeah.
screen.
Peloton?
Yeah, it's called onepeloton.com.
Okay.
Because it's one group and you're supposed to ride as a group.
Okay.
I didn't know that until I already had one.
Yeah, so one of the main reasons that we all ride together is because of the aerodynamic savings of riding with other people.
Yep. Drafting.
So when you're sitting behind somebody, you have an enormous energy savings, allowing you to go at a lot higher speed with a lot less effort just by sitting directly behind somebody.
Yep.
And so when you see these big groups of cyclists on the road, it's because that whole group can go a lot farther, a lot more comfortably, and a lot safer than one rider can alone. That big group, that when it starts to get to a certain size, becomes something called a peloton, which is essentially just a large group of cyclists who take turns sitting at the front, eating the wind, in order to let the group go.
Yep. What's your position on this? On the ruling, Tynan? What do you think? Should they let them be really skinny? Should they or really narrow? Or should there be?
First of all, what's your bar width?
So I ride 44 millimeter wide bars, which is
that
it's very out of fashion now to ride bars.
is it
that
narrow or is it wide?
That would
It's
be on
wide.
the wide.
It's
Okay, that's a wide bar. Okay.
Yeah, and it's not an aerodynamic setup. I find it comfortable. I like the leverage I have on wider bars. It's kind of difficult. I definitely understand the basis for saying there needs to be some standards, because you do see in bicycle technology, like most technology, there's always an innovator pushing the limits on what can be done. And yeah, that's the nature of sport. You're always trying to push the limits of equipment. But then you do get to a tipping point where safety does become an issue. I don't agree with the rule, though.
Yeah.
The way that they put it in, I think it's short-sighted, because the minimum width they have doesn't really accommodate a lot of riders. A lot of riders in the pro men's and women's pelotons. It just doesn't. And I wouldn't say that there don't need to be regulations for equipment, but I don't think that the proposed regulations as they stand now are really functional.
Is that because of the diversity in shoulder width?
Oh,
and so there could
absolutely.
be a normal shoulder width that wasn't super narrow that would be more narrow than they allow.
Sure. Well, I think the biggest area of controversy is for female riders. who tend to have, much narrower shoulders, prefer a much narrower bar. When the proposed rule came out, limiting bars to, I believe it was 38, that was a huge portion of women's riders in the pro ranks, and just bikes that fit women that didn't come equipped with bars that wide. From the manufacturers, it was a really limiting number. I mean, the metric that they picked was just, I think it was an error. And so while I will say I understand regulations for some equipment and, bars if they can show a real necessity for it, I think you have to pick numbers that actually reflect the users, to accommodate a majority, at least within that bell curve of what people are currently riding.
So maybe a bar width for women and a bar width for men, like a separate.
It could
I think
be.
more appropriate for the actual use case.
Yeah.
Like, we're all average cyclists, fairly normal builds, but like we would all ride, fairly wide-ish bars. Most pro cyclists, men and women, are on the smaller side. Most of the pro men are pretty tiny guys, like 5'6", 5'7", maybe, 120, 130 pounds. They're all pretty tiny because that's kind of what helps make you a very, very
They also
cyclist.
tend to have really narrow shoulders.
Yeah.
So they're just small. That's just kind of a physical attribute that makes them a very good cyclist. But because of that, they're small. They need smaller bars. I know that somebody measured all of the bar widths at whatever the last event, I guess it would have been the Tour. Currently, every single pro women in the Tour would have been having a legal setup. Every single one of them.
Yeah.
So that means every single woman will have to ride a bar if it's too big for them.
Because it's not just the bar width, but it's also the angle of the control, right? That they're also measuring that as well.
Yeah, so it is a combination of not just the bar, but the distance between the hoods, which are your shifting mechanism.
Right.
A lot of ergonomics and fit suggest that a more comfortable position is to slightly cant or turn your hoods in, which further narrows the distance between the hoods. So if you have your hoods turned in, some people do it to an extreme degree, some just slightly, whatever it fits a person, you're even reducing that bar width further.
Right.
And doing that, I mean, if you're already talking 100% of the women's peloton, anyone who's having any sort of turn or cant to their shifter, I mean that, yeah. I mean, if you did that, you'd probably say a large majority of the men's peloton wouldn't meet the regulations either. And if you're doing that, I mean, if this is and we're talking about a UCI rule, which is the international licensing body. So this isn't for something like you can't go buy this bar and you can't go on a group ride with any bar width you want. This is really impacting people who are racing, although it does trickle down to what manufacturers produce, because obviously if none of the pros can ride something, they're not going to make it.
This seems like it's transitioning from a controversy to beef with UCI. But I imagine we all agree here.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Maybe
Yeah,
it's interesting thing, instead of like taking the specific case of like handlebar width to sort of move towards like there exists this global like governing and sanctioning body called the UCI, who is like runs and is responsible for all the rules that govern pro racing.
And we've got beef with you.
Well, not necessarily. I don't think necessarily beef, but the question is for local riders who are participating in group rides, to what extent should we like uphold or maintain these rules for the sport that we're all like kind of participating in? So
Yeah, we don't want you to control us.
So, for example, like there is a UCI rule, which is you cannot start a UCI-sanctioned road race without sleeves.
Yeah, and that stinks.
I like that rule.
Russell likes that rule.
Some of the rules are silly. Some of the rules are deliberately in place to slow us down. Some of the rules are in place to keep bikes looking a certain way and not too crazy. There was a guy who was one of the reasons that I got into the sport, Graham O'Brien, who invented lots of new ways of holding himself on the bike.
Can't we just have some beef, Russell, with them?
I mean, you're more inclined to beef than I am, and there's a reason for this.
I also call him the diplomat.
Well, one thing
He's got a lot of names. One of them is the diplomat.
One thing which I learned about through riding a whole lot is the more that like I'm able to keep myself calm, the more energy I save. And so
Watts, baby.
watts, and also keep my heart rate low and keep energy up for a finale. I used to race a whole lot, and I like to save all of my energy for the very last bit.
Okay, hold on. Trevor, can we beef with them? Russell won't let me.
I'm actually on the side of the UCI.
What?
Yeah.
I thought we were all in agreement
As
here.
much as I like narrow bars, I think 38 should be the limit. Because the narrower and narrower that you go, the faster and faster the turning response is. And like, if somebody were to reach down and grab a bottle and just move a little bit, then you put other riders in jeopardy. You put their safety in jeopardy. I think that more control and more stability on the bike equals less crashes.
I asked the wrong person for beef.
Yeah, you did.
He agrees with the rule. Do you agree with the rule, James?
I agree with the theory of the rule, but not the specific numbers they picked. I think it should be more of a percentage of your actual body size. I don't know what that exact,
Yeah.
would be, but yeah.
And what I think is going to happen is the UCI is not going to implement this rule like as it is now. I think they're going to adjust it because everybody's freaking out about this rule in the pro cycling world.
We're certainly freaking
And
out.
I think it is probably going to be more like what James is saying. They're going to say, okay, if it'll be based on your size, which I think is fair.
I don't think that's fair.
No? Okay.
No, I mean like.
Hold on. Let's arm wrestle for this one.
Sure, no, but like
Russell doesn't think it's fair. Tom thinks it's fair.
So I swam as a young child.
I swam.
As a result of
I
that,
swim as an adult.
physiologically, I have a lot wider shoulders. This means that like I have like an innate higher drag coefficient just because of my shoulder width.
Yeah.
I put a lot of work into like getting myself able to like tuck my shoulders up really tiny and small, and like as a result, like I constantly have to stretch my back to do that.
Yeah.
I like the idea of riding narrower bars, and I put a lot of work in to be able to like hold that position. Somebody who just happens to have narrow shoulders, if they get to ride different equipment than I get to ride, then like, what did I do all that work for?
What size bars are you running?
I ride 40s. And the only reason I ride 40s is because when I tried to order 38s at the previous shop, they thought that was too ridiculous.
Just so you know,
Let's have beef with that previous shop then.
I do know everybody's bar width in this room, so I'm just trying to.
What's my bar width?
You are running a 42, sir.
Dang.
Right in the middle.
44, 40, 42, 39, 39,
39.
44 on some bikes, 42 on some bikes. Yeah, it depends. He likes white bars.
Trevor's keeping tabs on it's
But
your.
I definitely think that the rule that's governing like men's bar widths and like should not be like also applied to women. Like I think that there was people pushing the limit and going narrower and narrower, and examples of people running like 36s or 33s or really like goofy narrow things that sort of started to get into this area where instead of having like bars that they could steer with, they were sort of just tucked in like this. And we know that this you can't really steer that way.
What about the safety thing that Trevor was talking about? The safety thing.
Right, for sure. Like I
talking-
totally think, but that there's like a amount of safety, but I don't think that it's like if I happen to have really wide shoulders, but I'm good at steering with narrower bars, that should be okay. Yes, I'm okay with there being some limit, and the limit should be like proportionate to like the size of the people riding. But like the women's peloton certainly should not have been given a regulation that was meant to curb the speed of the men's peloton.
That's kind of what I was referring to. Like the women are clearly smaller.
Yeah, because we had to have a customer. Well, I didn't send her to Europe. She went to Europe and got fit, and they acted like it was no big deal, but they sized her for a 34 bar. And she brought that back, and I'm like, how did you get this? Because we can't get this here. And so, but I went and rode around in the parking lot, and man, it was tight. It was real. I mean,
difficult,
it was
yeah.
really like compact and stuff. The cool thing is like, yes, okay, first of all, I want to make sure that the people know that you are a very muscular, used to play football, like at a really elite level.
Matt is muscular.
Matt is.
Take off your shirt, Matt, and flex for the guys and the gals out there.
Matt runs a wide bar because he has a lot of muscle definition, and that's what makes it comfortable.
Yeah.
So you totally fit. It's not
It's a
because-
muscle man.
It's a nice way to call me a fat cyclist.
No, saying you're muscly.
No, it was the guy that was running 48s on the sidewalk that I was like, did you clear that with like, takeoff and like the flight command?
Yeah.
No.
We're talking about contraband bars now, coming back from Europe. You Europeans are sending your contraband bars over here.
But yeah, I mean, it was it was very like, if I think left, like it's already too late. I've already gone left.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay, so let's say we're going 30 miles an hour down this section of trail that we have in Austin that has handrails on the right-hand side.
Talking about Little Walnut Creek Trail.
Right. No one else is going to know that. But there is a downhill sidewalk with handrails and then a concrete wall to your left. So it gets to where it's about a bicycle width this way and a bicycle width this way. People are climbing and people are descending. And you're going to tell me that the safest option for you is to make it to where everything is as tight and nimble as possible, to where any input that you give is going to directly correlate to
Big, yeah, I see what you're saying.
to where
The
now
more narrow, the more
The
when
quicker.
you turn it, you get more.
It's more responsive.
It's more responsive.
So
That's going to take a real professional or someone who's understands how to do that.
So-
you wouldn't want to give that to a
What-
novice.
what kills people? It's not the speed, it's the suddenly stopping.
Oh.
So if you hit that handrail at 21 miles an hour, it's not going to feel good. And then it's what's on the other side. Where does your body go after that? So
Great beyond.
there's actually, for instance, there's about 5 feet of grass on the right-hand side, and then there's a giant rock garden for water runoff, or there's the concrete to the left. So, I mean,
Maybe it's a good time to talk about like why we're so concerned about safety in this sport.
Yeah. Hold on. Let's just shut down this discussion. Just tidy it up into a bow.
Yeah.
Beefing with the UCI. I know they're not all on board with that, but I'm cool with that. We're beefing with y'all. Here's why. You're not going to tell us what to do. We're going to do what we want to do because America. And that's just what's up. If you don't like that, then I don't know. That's comedy. I'm kind of joking. Obviously, there's a lot of points here at the table about the UCI rules, and there's differences of opinion. But most people here, except for in this area, believe in some flexibility of these widths of the bar. Yeah. Rusty wants to talk about.
I think to segue from the UCI discussion, the reason the UCI puts rules in place is for rider safety.
Yep.
And the reason that like there's such a focus on rider safety because this is an inherently dangerous sport.